I was looking forward to a fun trip with my girlfriends, using your card, when out of the blue, I received a call from Brian. I had already noticed his suspicious behavior, coming home late, secretive phone conversations with Nicole, and restlessness around the house. Was he plotting something with her all along? My suspicion that he might have teamed up with Nicole for some scheme seemed to be coming true. Luckily, I was prepared for such a situation. When Brian mentioned the trip, I decided to feign surprise. Mine, huh? What do you mean? I asked, trying to keep my composure as I prodded him to explain. The truth was, I already knew he was leaving for the trip today. Frankly, I found it unbelievable that he thought he could pull a fast one on me without planning it better. I had been patient with everything until that moment. However, now all I felt was a burning desire to get back at him. I had a revenge plan ready. It was about time we fought back against those insufferable siblings, especially considering all the patience we have shown over the years. I hoped they were enjoying their trip, completely unaware that one of their fellow travelers was on my side. My name is Pamela Smith, and I'm 33 years old, living with my husband Brian. I started working at my current company right after high school and climbed the corporate ladder through hard work and determination. Having acquired several certifications and a proven track record, I earned my position as a lead at the young age of 21. Despite my relative youth, I was Brian's superior at work. I was tasked with training Brian and two others when they joined the company. Despite being close in age, I was their supervisor. Brian often complimented my dedication and ambition. Over time, our professional relationship turned into a romantic one. Despite my initial reservations, I fell for him, and our relationship became typical: dinners, drives, and eventually moving in together. However, after moving in, I noticed Brian's sloppiness. I brushed it off, thinking he was comfortable enough with me to be himself. When he proposed, we discussed our future. He expressed his desire for me to quit my job and become a stay-at-home wife, managing the house and raising kids. While I didn't mind the idea, I was concerned about finances. I wanted to keep working and be flexible, especially if we were to buy a house. Our different views on finances and future plans created tension in our relationship, making me question his intentions further. We decided to discuss my job situation, and I reluctantly agreed. I didn't really want to quit my job, but I felt it was necessary to suggest it, or Brian might keep pushing the issue indefinitely. Before our wedding, we held an engagement party with both our families. It was there that I met Brian's sister, Nicole, for the first time. She barged into the bride and groom's waiting room without knocking, sized me up, snickered, and said, "So this is who Brian chose. A bit plain compared to his past choices, huh? Oh, I'm Nicole, your sister-in-law. I'm the type who doesn't hold back with family, so heads up." I stammered, I'm Pamela. Nice to meet you," as Nicole waved her hand dismissively and left the room. Her upfront attitude left me stunned, but it became clear that Nicole was quite the character. Later, I greeted Nicole's husband, who seemed like a decent guy. The wedding went off without a hitch, and Brian and I purchased a house we both liked. With the prospect of a busy life ahead, I put more energy into my work. One ordinary day off, the doorbell unexpectedly rang. Since I was occupied, I asked Brian to answer it. He returned, chatting and laughing, and I found out that Nicole had dropped by. "Pamela, hey there. Brian's doing pretty well, huh? Owning such a big house, good for him. After all, he's my little brother, right?" Nicole remarked. Brian played up his achievements since he probably told his sister that he had bought the house himself. I had contributed to the down payment and mortgage payments, but Brian insisted on having his name on the title. Since we were living together, I thought it didn't matter whose name was on the title, but the way he explained it to his sister annoyed me. I decided to hold my tongue and not make a scene. "I've got some snacks. Brian works really hard, you know," I said, trying to be polite. Nicole commented, "Why does Pamela sound so bossy? She's not the boss or anything." Brian chimed in, "Well, I am Pamela's supervisor at work. Nicole seemed surprised. Oh, that's right. Did I not mention that? Nicole then took an unexpected turn, saying, when I started the job, Pamela was already a manager. Since she started working right after dropping out of high school, it couldn't be helped. If it were me, I'd surpass her in no time. I was taken aback and replied, wait, you dropped out of high school? You look so serious, and yet you're less accomplished than me. Nicole shrugged it off, saying, is there a problem just because I dropped out of high school? Brian interjected, no, not really. But Pamela, since you didn't graduate from high school, and I'm your sister-in-law, I can ask you for anything, right? I couldn't fathom the logic of their conversation. I asked, that's true, Pamela. Whatever my sister says is the final word. If you refuse, I'll kick you out of the house. I struggled to comprehend the bizarre situation. Why was my lack of a high school diploma suddenly relevant? And why would refusing my sister-in-law's demands lead to eviction? I offered a polite smile and quickly retreated to the kitchen, overhearing Brian's discussion with his sister, which appeared to be a serious one. Afterward, Nicole approached me and said, Pamela, I've got a favor to ask. I need to borrow some money, like $5,000. Please. I couldn't help but react. How is that a little money? That's a lot. What do you need it for anyway? Nicole insisted, come on, it's just $5,000. You're a supervisor, right? You must have a good salary. I sighed, realizing that this situation was getting even more complicated than I had anticipated. I found myself in a situation where I needed to cover the remaining renovation costs. Didn't you just brag about your new condo the other day? I asked Nicole, my sister-in-law. She replied casually, oh, did I? Anyway, Brian said he'd lend it to me and told me to ask you. I was taken aback. What? Why would he decide that without asking me? I questioned. Nicole's tone turned threatening. Listen, Pamela, either give me the money or I'll call the boss right now and tell him you want to quit. Which one do you prefer? Feeling cornered, I reluctantly agreed, but I set a condition. I'll lend you the money, Nicole, but on one condition. We need to draw up a promissory note. Nicole grumbled. What? Even though we're family? I want it in writing. So when you come to get the money, make sure to bring your ID with a picture, okay? The next day, Nicole reluctantly complied with my request, bringing all the necessary documentation. However, as the days passed, I realized how spoiled Brian was by his sister. Nicole used the money I lent her to buy designer items, and soon, she started asking for more. Without any hesitation, each time, I made her sign a promissory note. A month later, I received an unexpected promotion at work. I was ecstatic about becoming the department manager, a step closer to my goal of becoming the head manager. I rushed home to share the news with Brian, who had taken the day off. Excitedly, I exclaimed, Brian, guess what? Today, my boss offered me the position of department manager. I've always wanted this, and now I'm getting closer to my goal. Brian's reaction was far from what I expected. He was furious. Wait, what? Pamela, you're getting promoted? I don't understand. Did you accept the offer? Well, yeah, I've told you about my goal before, right? I defended myself, trying to make him understand my perspective. His anger escalated. Hold on. You should have asked for my permission before making such a decision. What were you thinking? Plus, I've told you I wanted you to be a stay-at-home wife, haven't I? How come you're getting promoted and I'm still stuck at the same position? Doesn't that seem odd? Brian made a call, and shortly after, Nicole arrived. Accusing me of stealing Brian's opportunity, she mocked me, saying, I heard you stole Brian's promotion opportunity. What's the big idea? No, I didn't steal anything. At our company, promotions are based on performance. Brian sided with his sister, questioning my competence at my job. Feeling overwhelmed, I tried to resist, but they restrained me. Together, they rummaged through my purse, taking my bank card. Their laughter echoed in my ears as they left. Tears welled up in my eyes. Regret gnawed at my heart. It was clear that I had made a terrible mistake marrying Brian. As the realization dawned on me, I knew I needed to find a good divorce lawyer. That night, Brian didn't come home, and the next day, he shamelessly flaunted the extravagant expenses he had incurred using my money. The situation had reached a breaking point, and I knew I needed to take control of my life once and for all. I clenched my fists, suppressing the urge to snap back at Brian, especially when more employees began pouring into the office. On my way home, I checked my bank account and was shocked to find that $8,000 had been withdrawn. Once I confronted Brian about it, I couldn't contain my frustration. Brian, what were you thinking? Taking out $8,000 for fancy barbecues and luxurious bars. That money is what I had saved from my single days. And now you've spent it without even discussing it with me. His response was infuriating. It's my money, and I've already spent it. Can't do anything about it now, he said dismissively before retreating to the bathroom. In that moment, I made up my mind. I was going to divorce him. Over the following weeks, I consulted a lawyer, and the divorce preparations were underway. Ryan's behavior grew even more suspicious. He started coming home late and rushed out of the house on his days off. My suspicions deepened, and I considered hiring a private investigator. Then, I received an unexpected call from Kevin, Nicole's husband, Brian's sister. Kevin was concerned about Nicole's behavior and mentioned that she had been spending a lot of time at Brian's place, leaving home late and sometimes not returning at all. During our conversation, I shared everything that had happened, including the money I had lent to Nicole and Brian's reckless spending. Kevin sighed and apologized for his wife's behavior, admitting that he had considered divorce but couldn't take action. When I suggested he use the evidence I had gathered, he hesitated but ultimately agreed to cooperate. We decided to expose their deceit. Kevin informed me that Nicole and Brian might be planning a trip, supported by the brochures and travel club cards he found. We devised a plan together, communicating via text and meticulously preparing for our next steps. 2 weeks later, Brian left the house early one morning, thinking he was fooling us all. Kevin had informed me about his departure, so I was ready. A few hours later, Brian called me, gloating about the trip. I'm going to have a blast on your card with my sis and friends, he said, thinking he had successfully deceived me. But I was prepared. I decided to act surprised. Mine? What do you mean? Explain, I replied, feigning ignorance. Brian, not realizing his plan was unraveling, elaborated. We planned this trip ages ago. Kevin was just our backup plan in case something happened. Little did he know, I had my own backup plan. Kevin and I were ready to expose their lies and ensure they faced the consequences of their deceitful actions. We felt that you've become too arrogant lately and decided it was time to teach you a lesson. Got it now? You can't stand up to us anymore. Nicole sneered, a hint of superiority in her voice. But I had reached my breaking point. I don't have to tolerate this any longer. I've been patient for so long. A little payback isn't too much to ask for. Brian chimed in, confident. I don't feel anything anymore, not even a shred of emotion. I challenged him, reminding him of his earlier claim. Brian, what did you say earlier about your debit card? He responded, playing his part in their scheme. I told you about your debit card, right? Huh? I have my card in my wallet, though. I checked my wallet, puzzled. What? What are you talking about? Because here it is. Wait, what the heck is this? Brian's voice carried a hint of satisfaction. You just noticed. Slow on the uptake, huh? Didn't you take my old gym membership card from the fitness club I used to go to? It's the same color and same stiffness. I gasped, realizing their trick. Oh my God, it does say fitness club. But I swear, when I checked it, it was definitely a debit card. Brian revealed their scheme with a smug tone. Actually, last night, I switched the debit card with the membership card. Seems like you didn't check this morning and just went with it. I felt a mix of disappointment and frustration. So, it was a scheme by Nicole and Brian, huh? I'm so disappointed. Nicole added her piece, trying to maintain her arrogance. Brian, tough break, huh? Don't get too cocky just because you're my stepsister. Got it? You'll remember this when we get back. Ignoring their taunts, I responded coldly, I won't accept anything but cash. Brian attempted to bribe me, but I stood my ground. Well, we'll see about that. Look forward to it. Ignoring their banter, I hung up the phone and went back to sleep, knowing I had something up my sleeve. Later in the afternoon, my phone rang incessantly. My screen was flooded with missed calls and messages. First, I called my brother-in-law, Kevin, and then answered Brian's call, ready to play my part. Hey, finally. Send the money ASAP, please, Brian pleaded, pretending to be cold. Unfazed, I questioned him. You said Kevin would help, right? Or is he not there? Ryan hesitated before responding. What? Do you know something? Ignoring his question, I kept my tone even. Anyway, it's freezing, and Kevin's not here. Should I clue you in? I decided to reveal my plan. Since you and Nicole teamed up, Kevin and I did too. Simple, right? Now do you get why I entertained you guys for so long on that first call? To buy time. Brian was taken aback, and Kevin. He hopped on another plane and is coming back here. Feeling triumphant, I hung up the phone once I received confirmation that Kevin had boarded the plane. Got it. What's your deal with my husband, huh? Don't tell me you're wrong. We teamed up to get back at you. Now find your own way back. See you. With that, I hung up on Nicole and Brian. Kevin, my brother-in-law, was on his way back, supporting my plan. As soon as Brian and his group returned, they confronted me, their voices rising in anger. Pamela, what the hell were you thinking? Be prepared to move out, okay? Kevin's with you, isn't he? Why did you even come back first? Unbelievable. Are you okay with me leaving you? Apologize. I commanded them sternly, shut it and sit down. Kevin, usually calm, shocked Brian and his companion into silence, making them sit down immediately. The lawyer I had called and handed out his business cards to both of them, leaving them dumbfounded. Kevin and I handed them a stack of papers. As they read through them, their faces turned pale. Brian questioned, Wait a minute, this mentions property division. You're not saying it's about divorce, are you? Nicole added, It's written on mine too. Is this about a divorce? What did I do? Divorce has got to be a joke, right? Ignoring their confusion, I declared, I've been recording your daily outbursts, even the call you made from your vacation, Brian. I can't continue like this with you. Brian scoffed. Hold on, are you sure? I affirmed I said it, didn't I? I'm demanding half of the down payment from when we bought the house, the rest of the mortgage, and the repayment of the savings you spent from when I was single. Nicole, you spent the money you borrowed from me and also withdrew from my savings with Brian, right? You're going to repay that. Brian tried to destroy the evidence, stomping on the recorder, while Nicole tore the promissory note into pieces. Despite their attempts, I remained composed. Oops, indeed, you two don't think things through. Nicole, I have a claim against you too, for spending all the savings and such. Say hi to that guy you got close to at the bar for me. Both of them shamelessly cried, facing the consequences of their actions. I presented my bill to Brian, totaling $115,000, and to Nicole, amounting to $31,000. Kevin, too, demanded $120,000 from Nicole. We settled everything without going to court. Packed and ready, I left the house, ignoring Brian and Nicole's desperate attempts to reconnect. I blocked their contacts and focused on my new life. Later, when passing by my old house, I saw it was up for sale. I had moved into a condo, and my career flourished. I received a promotion to regional director, a position I had always aimed for. Kevin and I maintained a strong friendship, and life felt just right. I'm glad I got divorced. What happened between me and Kevin afterward is a story for another time.